Welcome to this channel about keeping small tropical lizards such as anoles and grass lizards into a compact bioactive enclosure. My name is Vincent and this is the second video for a whole playlist on how to set up a compact bioactive enclosure. In the previous video, which was the starter video of this playlist, I explain all about what you can expect from the enclosure and what kind of work that we will have to do towards it. So if you didn't check that video out yet and you want to follow this playlist, then please do. In this video, which is the second video, we will talk about how to select the right base enclosure for your compact bioactive enclosure, because there are some things you can take into consideration. And if you want to know what we are going to do in the next video, then please stick around for the roundup part, which is at the end of this video. In this video we are gonna do a couple of things, 4 things. And the first thing is I am gonna unwrap this enclosure. This is the enclosure I am gonna use for the whole playlist, and I will make a sort of a funny time-lapse video on that. Second thing we will do is I will name all the things that I really like about the enclosure, and I will also name the things I think that could have been better on the enclosure. And by doing this we will get a list of things that you can take into consideration if you select your own base enclosure, because of course you don't have to use the one that I am using. Then the third thing that we will do, I will name the animals that I am gonna house in this enclosure, and I will describe the theme I am going for, so the wood that I will be using and the plants that I will put in, because what I do before I start to build a enclosure is I always want to know the animals that are going in it and the theme I'm going for. And then we will get to the last part of this video, and there I will name a few good beginner species for anoles and tachydermes if you want to get into this niche of the hobby. So compact bioactive enclosures with small tropical lizards, mainly anoles and tachydermes. And after that we are going to the roundup part of this video. So selecting your base enclosure for your bioactive enclosure, and I said this a few times before, but for me those are two different things. So this is a base enclosure, how you buy it from the store, and those are finished compact bioactive enclosures. And when you select your base enclosure, I think there are some things you have to take into consideration, because some stuff can be fixed afterwards with modifying something or retrofitting or stuff like that, and other things they are not so easily changed. So what I will do, I will name the things that I really like about this enclosure, and I will name the things that could be better on this enclosure, and in that way we get a list of the things you can take into consideration. So the very first thing what I really like about this enclosure is the ventilation. So they have this stainless steel mesh on the top, and you have this smaller ventilation strip on the front, and by these two ways of ventilation you get a sort of cross ventilation in your enclosure. So it sucks in air at the front and it comes out at the top. And when it's at the warmest point of the day, so all the lamps are going, and you put your hand on the enclosure, then you almost feel a little bit of airflow coming out. And for anoles and tachydromes, that's just perfect, because of course where they are naturally, they're always sitting like in the trees or on a rock besides the sea, or the grass lizards in the grass, so there's a lot of airflow there. It's not like they are hiding in tiny holes or stuff like that. So yeah, ventilation. The second thing I really like about this enclosure is the easy access to the inside. So yeah, you can actually remove this top like this, get it off, and then if you also open the front, then yeah, you have a lot of ways to access it. And I actually had one time myself that I had to put a piece of wood in from the top, because with the white version the front opening was not big enough. Maybe something that could have been better is now this piece of plastic which remains here. So maybe it's to make the structure as a whole more stable or something, but that's now actually annoying also with cleaning and stuff. So yeah, if they could fix that, please do. So yeah, easy access. Then the third thing, or maybe this is even the second thing, is this front window. So this front window is quite high. I will put the centimeters in the video. And this is really nice if you make a bioactive enclosure, because you need like the hydration layer, substrate and everything. So you need a lot of space there. And I actually almost went for a different brand of tanks, enclosures. It was made in or manufactured in the Netherlands. I think finishing looked a bit better, but the front window was like 2 or 3 centimeters high. So I asked in the store like, hey, how am I gonna put in everything for a bioactive setup? And yeah, that was not possible. And actually there they only used like a thin layer of bark or sand. So yeah. So the height of the front window, I would really keep that in mind when picking your base enclosure. Then what do I also like regarding this tank enclosure? It's just how hardy or how strong they are. So I ordered now something like 16 online, and they were all or brought to my house or to a pickup point. And yeah, of those 16, actually 2 were broken. So one I had to return because it was the side window, and one I actually kept because it was the window on the back side, and I just sealed it off and you didn't see it anymore. So yeah, and also we're doing maintenance, so sometimes you have to get them out of the rack to clean behind, or do something with the electronics or the timers, and never an enclosure, something went wrong by picking them up. They're actually quite heavy. We always have to pick them up with 2 people, because I think they weigh around 50-60 kilograms with everything inside there. So yeah, ventilation, easy access, the front window, how strong they are. Also the lock is quite nice, so it makes a little bit of a sound when you open it, and that can freak out the animals a little bit. So if you want to catch them, it can be an issue, but it's a good lock. Also, if you look at your rack in one eyesight, or how do you say that, I can see that everything is properly locked. So yeah, what else? Yeah, maybe that's something that they could improve, but maybe it's really expensive, I don't know. But the downside with glass enclosures is of course the reflection, and sometimes the animals are busy with themselves. The reflection of the glass, and it's not so bad, but I think it could be improved with I think it's called ARC, anti-reflective coating, but I can imagine it's also quite expensive, but that could be better on the enclosure. So, but I guess if you don't want a reflection, you have to go for something that is completely made out of another material. So yeah, I guess that's basically it. Ventilation, easy access, the front window, how tough they are, and the lock. And what could have been better, yeah, the thing of plastic which is in the way, even if you remove the top and everything. And maybe the reflection of the glass. And of course you also have this background. Actually a lot of people like it, I think, but for me this is a no-go because I only use fern root. That's actually the topic of the next video. And yeah, one alternative I really took into consideration was custom built enclosures, like my nursery rack, but yeah, that was just really way more expensive. I get these for a really good price, and I think they are not expensive at all, so I will actually put a picture of the custom built in the video, and they look really cool. What I like about that is that the front window is a little bit in an angle, and also it has this type of removable front window, and so you don't have the line in the middle that maybe is a bit in the way, but I don't mind. So yeah, that's it about what you can take into consideration when you pick your base enclosure. So for the final part of this main part of the video, I will tell what animals I will be housing in this enclosure, the theme I am going for in the enclosure, and I will name a few good beginner species if you want to start with anoles or tachydromus, grass lizards in compact bioactive enclosures. So yeah, the animals I will be housing in my new tall enclosure are my Tachydromus dorsalis. They are actually the biggest lizards I have at the moment, and they are a bit cramped in this white version, so they will go to this tall version. Then the theme I am going for, so as a main decorational thing, I will go for a center piece of wood, this type of wood that you see here. Hopefully I can put the name in the video. So I will buy a big piece. I will put a ceramic plate under it, and it will go all the way from the bottom to the top. Then as a second type of wood, I will go for cork bark, like this one and the one here. So the longer pieces, which are a bit more narrow, I will go for 2 or 3 longer parts that go all the way from the bottom to the top again. So all the space in the enclosure is being used. And I will put a few shorter versions horizontally in the enclosure, maybe even on other branches of the pieces of wood. Then for planting, I will go for 2 types of monstera, the plant with the holes in the leaves. I will plant them closely to the main decorational part, so they can really grow into the wood. And then as a second type of plant, I will go for bromeliads. So all the cork bark I will fill as much as possible up with bromeliads. And then on the bottom, I will go for I think a little bit more of this plant instead of the Fittonia. So I will also put the name of this one in in the video. I will also keep it quite simple. So on the bottom it's gonna be moss, the Fittonia and the one plant. Then the big piece of wood with the pieces of cork bark, 2 monsteras and the cork bark filled with bromeliads. And on the on the background it will be covered with moss mainly, like in this enclosure, and also the plant you see there. It's a difficult name, I will put it in the video. I will try to let that grow into it. So yeah, that's gonna be the theme. And then some beginner species if you want to start with anoles or grass lizards, and I will not go in all the details now because I will make a beginner species video in the future. So I think if you want to start with anoles, I would really go for the Anolis sagai, also called the brown anole. And yeah, they are not so expensive, really cheap actually. They are yeah, almost everywhere available, and nowadays you see them also with you have the reddish ones and also the ones with really nice patterns on their back. So you have some nice specimens of that, and they are also not so cramped in these compact enclosures. I actually had a pair in one of these enclosures and they were doing perfectly fine. So yeah, I bred them successfully and everything, and also the communication with the head bumping between the male and the female is very nice to look at. So yeah, Anolis sagai. Maybe as a second species for anoles, I would say these Watson's anoles. They are a few in a sort of a family of anoles. I think it's the Anolis pogus, the Watsi, the Schwarzi and the Foresty, if I say that correctly. And yeah, they are not all widely available, but here in the Netherlands the pogus is quite easy to come by, also not so expensive, and the others can maybe be a bit more challenging. So yeah, maybe as a third one I will just mention it, also the Anolis alogus can be a good starter. It's a bit smaller than the sagai, and they have a little bit more pattern to them, so and also not so hard to get. And if you want to start with grass lizards, the Tachydromus, then my absolute favorite is the Tachydromus maragdinus. I don't have them anymore, unfortunately, and I will actually get them soon again, and they will go into this enclosure here. And yeah, why the Smaragdinus? It's just a bit better in handling different types of environments. So I actually heard from a person who's doing dart frogs. He tried the Sexlineatus with dart frogs, but they couldn't handle the humidity. He also tried the Dorsalis with the dart frogs, but they couldn't handle the humidity. In the Smaragdinus, you can actually pair them up with the dart frogs, and they can handle a bit more humid, a bit less humid, and yeah, also they are so social. If you open the enclosure, they come towards you, they eat out of your hand, and they sleep together. If you have a small group, they literally sleep on each other. Yeah, these ones also do it. So yeah, Anolis, sagai, Watson's anoles, Watsi, Schwarzi, pogus, or the alogus. And for Tachydromus, I would say go for the Smaragdinus. And now we go to the final part of this video, which is the roundup part. So for the roundup part of this video, yeah, I'm sorry that this video is getting quite long, so I will try to speed up a little bit. What did we do this video? We mainly talked about how to select your base enclosure for your compact bioactive enclosure, and yeah, things you can take into account are ventilation, accessibility into the enclosure, the front window, really important if you go for a bioactive setup, the lock of the enclosure, and yeah, if you don't like glass because of the reflection, for example, you can also choose other materials, of course, like wood or certain plastics. Yeah, and maybe a thing to take into consideration is to get a custom built enclosure. Yeah. Then for the next videos, they will be all about the background of the enclosure. So I only use fern root and I always let moss grow into it. And maybe I will make a part 1, part 2. So part 1 is all about putting in the background, and then part 2 is all about letting the moss set in. So yeah, that's it for this video. As usual, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. I leave it all up to you, but it's highly appreciated, and we will see each other when we get there.